Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I'm excited tonight to talk about current events that's going on in Houston and in Texas and all across the country. I'm excited to have my regular co-host, Danny Sneed, here tonight. So, Danny, what's on your mind? Tonight we're just talking about hot topics. What's on your mind? Tell me, what are you thinking about tonight?
Man, the hot topic on my mind is the city of Houston making it hard for returning citizens, formerly incarcerated men and women getting out of jail and prison to have adequate housing. Of course, you know, many people that get out of jail and prison don't have a place to parole to. So, but in Houston, unlike a lot of cities, there is a lot of halfway houses around the city. And you wouldn't really notice them unless someone pointed them out that there were halfway houses located in your communities. But there's a push from the community to move these halfway houses out of the city. Most of it is fear-based. Crimes that are committed in the neighborhood are often that go unsolved or blamed on the community in these facilities. And so the city proposed an ordinance and it passed to make it harder for a person to open up a halfway house. Before the ordinance, the old ordinance, the former ordinance required these facilities to be no more than 500 feet from public schools. But what they did, they created a new ordinance and they doubled it, the feet that it had to be from a school. Also, they created a fee or a tax on people occupancies in the building. So if you built a building and you said you want to put 12 people in it, they told you how many people based on the size of your unit, your building, could live there. And they went in and made all these restrictions, so it discouraged people to even open one. It's too expensive to open up one. But an organization I'm a part of, Texas Advocate of Justice, along with TOP and a few other organizations here, we went to the city council meetings and we challenged them as people that are formerly incarcerated, that what are the expectations for the people getting out when they already face the barriers of employment? And the housing is a barrier because most landowners won't allow people with backgrounds to move into apartments. So the halfway housing was an alternative and gave you somewhere to keep you from living on the streets. Imagine that you get out of jail or prison, not that we should not look at where you went to jail and prison. So we're going to point that out. Something had to happen for us to go to jail and prison. But we served our time. Now we're dealing with life after prison. We're returning citizens and we want to come back and join our communities and try to heal some of the brokenness and things some of the things we've broken, we want to come back in the community and heal. Now, not everyone gets out with that agenda, but we should. And we should hope for that when we send our men and women to jail and prison, that prisons are not built for punishment, but to change people's behaviors. You agree with that?
I agree.
So to believe and hope that these prisons are changing people's behavior, when they come back out, they're not coming back out ex-cons, they're coming out nephews, sons, fathers, grandfathers. So it's just not a one role in your life that you have to carry the rest of your life when you return from jail or prison. Hopefully you want to come back and be a part of a family unit. And your family is going to be probably in a community. And I would hope that the community will welcome us back and give us a chance to prove ourselves and say, okay, you serve your time. Here's your opportunity. We don't think housing should be something that you shouldn't have access to based on you committed a crime and you serve your time. The good thing about it is there's advocates that believe that we should have adequate housing. Unfortunately, when it went up on the ballot, more people agreed to an ordinance that makes it harder for halfway houses to be in our communities. Where do we go? And I use myself, we, is because I've been out of prison since 2008, but I wholly identify with my peers. I work as a director of a reentry ministry called Path of Freedom. I also work with U.S. Vets. That's a nonprofit organization that works with veterans and their families that face barriers. You would be surprised that a lot of our veterans have been affected by the criminal justice system. Let me give you this analogy that a guy gave me. He said when he went to the Army and he got out, he had these expectations when he got back home that his family and the community and society would embrace him. But what he found out is, even though he got out of the Army, he faced barriers almost like he had just got out of prison. And it discouraged him. So he ended up becoming part of the culture of people that were going to jail and prison that never had an opportunity based on their environment. So he returned back to an environment that hadn't really changed much and got involved in. He couldn't influence them based on him being in the service. They were more influenced on him. And it was based on, there weren't a lot of opportunities for him.
Right.
But let me make another point. Now you take a guy that gets out of prison. He hasn't been to the service, but his expectations when he get home is he'll be treated like he has.
Right.
That not only would his family welcome him home with like he's returning back from, fighting a war.
He thinks they're going to be as excited to see him as he is to see them. And sometimes people move on.
Right.
Or they accept the fact that you might be going back to prison.
And here is, I'm conflating two things, but so you got the guy that gets out of the military is treated like he got out of prison. You got the guy getting out of prison expected to be treated like the guy that got out of the military. But both of them face the same expectations from family and from society. Both are looking for jobs and opportunity, and both of them not finding them. And both deserves them. And the reason I say that is the heroes that serve shouldn't have to come home and look for a job.
That's true.
There should be companies that reserve opportunities for veterans.
Right.
And not just as a form of sense of entitlement, but to make aware that in this society, we should honor the people that protect the way we choose to live.
Right.
But also, on the other hand, when a person gets out of jail or prison, we don't want them to have to work hard to find housing and job opportunities because we don't want them to become the people that break in our homes.
Right.
To continue to commit crimes.
Right.
So it's part of the restorative justice platform that we shouldn't rely on the federal government or any agency to fix that problem.
Well, let me ask you this. You talked about halfway houses, and you kind of connected that with housing. Now, halfway houses are traditionally where you go when you're getting out of prison and you have to stay in this halfway house that the prison told you to stay in, learning to work and follow the rules until you're completely discharged from prison. So are those the halfway houses you're talking about?
There are more than one type of halfway house.
Right, okay.
Halfway houses were designed for...
But what about the ordinance? Which ones are the ordinance? Are those
they face any facility that's based in the community, whether it's run by TDC or where it's run by a private owner.
Okay.
The location of them.
All right, so it doesn't matter who owns it.
Right. It's if it's deemed an alternative housing facility, it falls up under this ordinance. Now, Magnificent House has a lot of these homes across the city. When a person gets out of jail or prison and doesn't have an address to parole to, and if he's not a registered sex offender, these halfway houses allow men to come in with zero income with the hope and the agreement that they will find a job in an adequate amount of time. so they can stay there.
And that's called Magnificent House?
Right. And
Now,
that
is
lo-
that a nonprofit or is that
Yeah.
a government entity?
No, it's a nonprofit, and the churches behind them, and they're all over the Midtown area. They're nice big mansion style type homes, and they have several in the city, and those are just one I'm very familiar with because it's off San Jacinto and around the UCC college area. And I've also been in those facilities passing out push cards for our ministry. So to let these guys know, if you're out now you got a place to stay, connect with a support group. And we're in walking distance from where you are. Do you remember a former guest called Arthur Randall?
Yeah, of course.
Arthur Randall was at the halfway house. When I met this guy, he had been to prison 5 times. And he was staying at the Magnificent House, and he started coming to the path of freedom. And he said for the first time in his life, he was willing to submit his way of looking at things to a different concept and a different idea. And he started adopting some of the concepts that we not teach or suggest to people getting out of jail and prison. And one of the ones that we talk about is there's no evidence that a job will keep us returning back to jail or prison. So jobs are important, but let's focus on what led us to prison based on employment when we get out.
Right.
Let's take a look at what happened. Let's have that conversation. And another thing that I, along with this platform on is community service. We believe that if you connect to something that's involved community service, that it will change your environment, your people, and your places that you couldn't change when you got out of jail and prison.
Let me tell you, so why did you think of, say, Arthur Randall? Because he lived at Magnificent House?
He started at the Magnificent House.
And he's doing well now, right?
He's doing above well. I mean, he ended the recidivism cycle that says within 36 months we return back to jail and prison.
Is that for the first time you went to prison, or that's anybody that went to prison?
Well, I went 3 times, and every time I went, it was with less than 3 years.
Okay.
He went 5 times. Every time he went, it was within 3 years. So think about that. And so I began to see this pattern, not just with me, but in others, that we're not failing at failure, we're failing at success. Because each time we go back, it's because we've gotten everything back that we lost. But there's no model for people maintaining success, only getting it. They can build you up, cheer you on, but there's no finish line. So what we teach is that there's no finish line once you change. It's an ongoing process that you don't get to where you're making a lot of money. You got a significant other. You got the right type of car. You're not dealing with housing anymore. So you take your step back and you relax, and you forget how did it start the last time. And what happens is it doesn't take a lot. The brain doesn't forget what it did before, and it's called a trigger. So you're going about your life, you're doing all things new, but you come across one of your triggers. Old friend, or old place, old smell, old taste. And we have a saying with the people that struggle with substance abuse: 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. So say if alcohol was my problem and I stopped drinking, I'll never start again if I never have the first
drink.
Mine personally was crack cocaine. And we know that crack cocaine doesn't discriminate based on where you work, what your title is. We've seen the great fall from this substance.
Right.
But it never can affect you if you never take that first hit. You never get high on 1,000 hit. It's that first one that takes so much effort to recover from. So I resolved myself to saying that I don't have to worry about getting high for a long time and quitting. I just have to focus on never
getting high.
one time.
One time.
And so I made this commitment that that's not really that hard when I put it in that light. Like, I don't have to do a lot of work. I just got to do this one thing right.
Right.
And I don't have to do it but one day at a time.
Right.
I don't have to do it tomorrow. I just have to do it today. I can go to sleep, not worried about if I'm going to do it tomorrow. I just go to sleep saying, well, it didn't happen today.
And so how long has it been?
Since 2004.
That you didn't do crack cocaine?
Well, no, since I hadn't put any chemicals in my body.
Oh, no chemicals at all.
And see, that's the thing.
What happened in 2004?
2014. 2004. What year? 2004.
Got out in 2008.
So before I went to prison back in 2005, I was out on bond. I never had a bond in my life, but this time they gave me a bond, and so I had a year to decide what I was going to do with my life.
I forgot. Were you here or in Texarkana?
Texarkana.
Okay.
So I thought the DA was going to throw the case out.
Right, because you had a bond.
Because I had a bond, and they never indicted me for 9 months, 11 months. They didn't indict me.
Wow, so you
think about, you got this cloud over your head. And I think it kind of motivated me to straighten up. Like, I was like this bargain with God, like, okay, I never had a bond. I got in trouble. I'm on parole with a bond. I'm going to say it again. I'm on parole with a bond. Man, I started walking the line like, no, I got
That encouraged you. You got encouraged.
Because for the first time in my life, I felt like I was given a chance. In my past, it was always, go to jail, do not pass go, like in Monopoly. You know what I'm saying? Go straight to jail. So I felt like God was saying, I'm going to give you a break this time, Danny. And I'm going to see what you're going to do with this opportunity. Man, I started working. One time I was working up to 4 jobs.
Wow.
I was working, but I was replacing that lifestyle of running behind that substance. So really, I was still getting high. It was just not on drugs. It was just on working and staying busy.
Well, that's good. That's a good one to do.
It can be good. It can be unhealthy. But you still have to have a balance, because if you sit up on a therapist or a psychiatrist, they say that behavior is more manic than managed.
Okay.
So you have to take a step back, and your people in your life saying, you're doing too much, Danny. And I'm saying, I'm running from something that I don't want to catch me. And yeah, it may look like I'm doing a lot, but I don't want my addiction to catch up with me. And I'm afraid if I slow down, it can catch me. So I'm running for my life. And if I stay busy, so busy that when I go to sleep, I sleep and I don't dream about using because I'm so exhausted. I wake up.
You used to dream about it?
Well, I still do.
Oh my God.
Once or twice a year, and
you dream like you're actually using it, like.
But I never
in the game.
Well, I guess because I built up a lot of barriers between me and my last high, that it's like in a dream that you're falling, you never hit the ground. I'm dreaming that I'm about to get high, but I never get high.
Got it.
Like, I either wake up or something keep distracting me. Like, I can have the rocks in his hand, the pipe in his hand, but I never get to a place where.
Good. That's good.
Like, either people watching me or like, leave me alone.
I'm close. I'm real close. Oh wow, a dream of temptation.
Right, and then you wake up and you pray.
I know that's right.
And you
Thank
thank
you,
God
Jesus,
it was a dream.
that it was a dream, and I didn't really have a rock and a pipe in my hand. Wow.
And then the shame, guilt, and remorse for a little while, but I know how to process it and separate and compartmentalize it and realize that the human brain stores information. And that's all it is. It doesn't forget. It represses,
and replaces.
Mm-hmm. And because I'm having a conversation or working with people that are actually using, I think it's a transference of sometimes there are stories of I just did this,
you
then
dream
I've been
about
smoking.
Yeah, you dream about their stories.
Yeah, so
it becomes your story.
Right.
It becomes yours.
It triggers.
Well, that's good that that's on your mind. And that's what I wanted to know. Let me talk about what's on my mind. So what's on my mind today is 2 things, locally it's the fact that many of us have not recovered from the hurricane. Hurricane Harvey hit first weekend in September, Labor Day weekend, end of August, 1st of September. Our criminal courthouse was destroyed. It's a 20-story building that had 38 courts and hundreds of people who worked there. And that building is gone. There's not much talk about it in the news or anything, but I mean, thousands of people have been displaced, and it's very stressful on our criminal justice system. So we're waiting on a plan, and we have no idea when we're going back to that building, or if we'll ever go back to that building. And I know as far as the DA's office, we're spread over 11 different buildings, and the judges are spread over different buildings. We're having court in jail, in the jails, every day. So our felony prosecutors have to go from an old abandoned office that belongs to the county called the RTC, where the Adult Protective Services used to be, and they have to drive in every morning, take their hundreds of files to a staging area, walk them to the civil courthouse where the criminal judges are sharing with the civil judges. Then they have to walk. That's just for bond cases. Then they have to walk all these boxes in the heat from the civil courthouse all the way over to 701 San Jacinto to the jail to have the mail jail docket where there's actually prisoners, judges, courts, having court in a jail that's not equipped for that. Then walking those same boxes over to the Baker Street jail, 1200 Baker Street, to have a female jail docket with judges, and then walk those files back over to a staging area, which is, by the way, in the old jail on Franklin, and then go all the way back to the RTC, to the Galleria. It is exhausting. It is crazy, and we don't have a plan. So we are very frustrated about that. And that building has been there since 2000, and it has undergone 2 major hurricanes that have made the DA's office and all the courts move out for a couple of years. And nothing's been changed about it. Here we are 18 years later with the same problem. So that is very frustrating.
Well, how can it, I'm gonna use me for example. Say I'm locked up and I'm waiting to either go to trial or you guys indict me, and I'm finding out, hey man, they can't even move around over there. Is it benefiting me by you not being able to work?
If you're in jail, it's not benefiting you because when lawyers go to the jail to work, the jails are so thickly made that a lot of the fiber optics and equipment doesn't work. So a lot of the laptops don't work in the jail because it's in the basement. It's like where all the heavy stuff is.
Can't get a signal.
They can't get signals, so they can't. So they say it's hundreds of people there, people in jail, and they can't get any work done. So they might have, bring 100 people over, but only 3 cases get dealt with. And they got the guys standing against the walls, not in the cells like they normally are in court, the holdover cells. They're standing against the wall. In fact, a defendant, he hit his lawyer the other day. He was mental, and he was so frustrated with this crazy. I mean, it's chaotic.
No structure.
It's unstructured that his lawyer came and talked to him because they're right there. I mean, everybody's just right there. He hauled off and hit him in the face, and he was a public defender. It knocked him,
Y'all didn't recharge him again, did you?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, he's mental, so.
Yeah.
I mean, but still, he assaulted his lawyer. But we understand that's bad, and it's bad for the lawyer. And I really like the lawyer, Danny Licata. I really like him, but the guy was already mental. So that's a lot of stress. As you know, stressors and triggers,
right.
People can't handle that. I mean, it's a very unstructured environment. It's a very dangerous environment. And I hope that soon, there's no plan. We're looking for a plan. That's very frustrating. When, just imagine, it's not exactly as hot as it will be, but when they were normally, you go to your office and then you just get on the elevator and go up to a different floor to court. Everything's there, you get on a dolly. Now they're having to, just imagine, I have a small car, as you might know. So what if I had to take 10 boxes every day to work from one place? I couldn't put them in my car.
Are some of the defendants having to come every day and then got to go back and come back, or they reschedule them spaced out a long?
Oh yes, it's spaced out a lot longer because there's no courtrooms. And so what if you are innocent and you need a trial and you're waiting in jail and you can't bond out? What if you're innocent, and what if you're a victim? You've been victimized by a monster, but that monster can't get to trial. So, it's bad for everybody. It's bad for criminal justice. It's bad for the victims who are awaiting justice from their murdered loved ones. It's bad for the defendant who is innocent who's trying to have his day in court, his life is disrupted because the 38 courts used to have a trial a week to dispose of those contested matters where one side is saying I'm innocent and the other side saying I'm guilty, and you're letting the citizens decide. Now it's not happening. They're having the judges are sharing courts with the civil judges. So the civil judges need their courtroom. So if you're not going there for a money matter or a divorce, those judges can't use their courtrooms because they're sharing it with the criminal courthouse. So that if they're sharing, one gets it half a day, one gets the other half. Well, you can't have a trial that way because trials are all day.
Is it a timeline on?
No, we have no idea.
Are they doing any construction?
Absolutely not.
No, so
Absolutely not. We don't know. It's still with the engineers. It's still with the consultants who every time there's a flood, it's the same consulting firm, and there's no decided plan yet.
So they don't want to use the same people because
They use the same people every time. They do use the same people. We are using the same consultant that we use every time.
That sounds like some.
I don't know. That's above my pay grade. I'm just making an observation, and there is no construction going on.
We have a word for that. That's called. It's kind of suspect.
There is no activity going on. That's what I can tell you.
I have a question. You told us how the hurricane affected where you work. How did it affect you where you live?
Well, I live in my job apparently because I don't leave till 8 at night. But I live in Third Ward, and the streets were messed up. People that lived on the bayou were messed up. But I live in a house built in 1940 that's up high, so the streets were flooded, but the houses on my street, 3 streets from McGregor, were not flooded.
Were you able to move around during the time?
No.
You was confined to your home?
I was confined to my home. After the first day, I was able to drive to a friend's house in the neighborhood that lived in a high-rise by Herman Park. And when I tried to go home, I couldn't go home. I had to go back. So I ended up being confined there for like 2 or 3 days.
I actually went outside and went Facebook Live during the hurricane.
And what was your point in that?
Well, I wanted to bring the world into my world and let them see up and close what I was experiencing. And as the water was rising, I remember worrying about snakes being in the water.
Oh, wow.
So I was outside and I was filming it, and then I was like, one of my phobias is spiders and snakes. And I'm thinking, like, where the snakes gonna go?
How far up was the water on your body?
Well, it was to my ankles at that time, because it didn't get bad until after the hurricane.
Right, of course, yeah.
It was the rain that caused us the problem. It really wasn't the hurricane.
Right.
The 50 inches of rain we got. So as I'm standing out in this water and I'm outside on Facebook Live and I'm telling the people that are watching what's going on, and the streets were really hot. I said, look at the stop sign, pointing out how the water is. And I just had this great thought, like, where the snakes at right now?
Oops, they might be about to get you.
They're not in trees.
They're about to get you.
They're not in trees. They got to go somewhere. And I looked down, and I had this huge panic attack. And I just ran in the house, and I never
came out. I didn't come out for 3 days.
Hey, and I was saying, like, what was you thinking, man? A water moccasin and a snake could just.
You wouldn't know.
I looked down, he just saying, aha, got you.
Got you. Yep, your biggest phobia.
Live,
yeah. Some nasty things happening on Facebook Live. Another concern of mine is our loss of democracy. So what saddens me the most is I've lived in a time when we've made racial strides in working together, working through our pain, working through our racism, and trying to work together as a society. What's bothering me now is not only do we have leaders who have galvanized through hate, they've also changed all the rules. I've never thought that I'd see a president that was in love with Russia. We were raised that Russia was our enemy. I've never thought that we would have a president that's in love with everything that's negative about a lot of black people and Hispanic people, when I thought I was raised that this was a country of immigrants. And now it's like immigrants are our enemy. But I don't feel that way. I mean, I feel that this is a nation of immigrants because everybody came over on a boat other than the Native Americans. So I I'm concerned about our lack of democracy. I've always known the president to be supportive of the FBI and other law enforcement agencies, but yet we have a presidency that's making the FBI and law enforcement agencies the enemy. I never anticipated that. With all the hate and racial division that we have, I never thought that we would start demonizing, or the presidency would demonize the FBI. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about when people exercise free speech, that instead of just not listening or disagreeing, that people want to silence them, because that's contrary to the Constitution. So that makes me wonder, is the Constitution an antique idea? Is it time to change it? Is it time to give it life? What times do we live in? So do you have any comments about it?
Sure. Several years ago, probably a decade ago, I came across a great book. And this book is called Why Great Men Fall. And what this book did is gave me a lot of insight into how these great leaders, and they talk about Bill Clinton, Richard Nixon, and what they tried to do is point out what was the characteristics about these people that rose them up to such great power, but they made such huge errors in judgment. Like one bad decision could change their destiny and how they look forever. And here recently with the Me Too movement, we watched so many of people, and I'm gonna use this as my example. The great comedian, Bill Cosby. Now I've seen a lot of people take a lot of hits, from Tiger Woods to Mike Tyson going to prison for sexual assault, which was just crazy to think that could happen to someone that reached that level of success. But long before there was a Trump, I've held on to this book. And it goes back to when I talked about earlier. Many of us in my peer group of returning citizens could learn from leaders that make mistakes that cost them everything. We're doing the same thing at a different level. We're rising to power. We're having a lot of responsibilities, but we're making bad decisions. And our bad decisions cost us everything. So whatever decision Bill Cosby made, it has cost him a lot.
Right.
Whatever the bad decision Mike Tyson made, it cost him a lot. And the book goes on to point out people like Kobe O'Brien. We will forget about what happened to him, but he got caught up. Right. Jimmy Swaggart, Gary Condit, Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky. So in the day of Donald Trump, we look at it like he's not our first
right.
leader that didn't display the characteristics of what we look at as what leaders do.
I know, but it would be different if we were just shocked that Donald Trump was caught up with Stormy Daniels. Because if we use the Bill Clinton standard, he should be prosecuted, he should be impeached, he should be held to the same standard. It is unfortunate that our loss of democracy has created politics that is not fair, is not equally distributed. Now all of a sudden it's no big deal to have an extramarital affair. It's no big deal to have 3 wives and 5 kids and extramarital affairs and to pay off porn stars. Oh, it's not even worth congressional hearings like with Bill Clinton. So that's a loss of democracy when the whole world sees and everybody in the country sees, and little kids and school-age people learning about history see such a double standard. When Trump talked about President Obama, when he would go on vacation with his children every 3 months when they're having school holidays, take them back to Hawaii or something. When Trump goes out of town every weekend, He talked about, they made a big deal about Obama doing that, President Obama.
Well, there's a lot of hypocrisy there.
Yeah, but yet every weekend he's going, and I mean, he's cost more in a year and a few months than Obama did in 8 years in terms of travel to our country, but nobody says anything. And President Trump, when he wasn't the president, was the one talking about Obama taking golf trips and doing things with his family. So the hypocrisy and the fact that the media buys into the hypocrisy when at one point the media was striving to do the right thing, to tell the stories from both sides, and now the media is so biased that people who were raised with the media telling the truth or being unbiased or showing both sides, we trust the media, but now the media has changed its goals in a lot of ways, so that makes people think it's true. I mean, if you're 60 years old or 70 years old and you looked at Walter Cronkite or you looked at balanced media presentations when media was not a profit-making center, then you think that what people are saying is true on TV. You don't realize behind the scenes it's no longer profit-oriented. It's a 24-hour news cycle that's now a profit center. You think that it's true because you were raised with it being true. And it's just, that also leads to a loss of democracy.
Well, what I look at, and I like to see both sides of the argument. So I'll look at just as much Fox News as I look at CNN News and MSNBC. Because I want to hear both sides of the argument. And one thing I do realize is, and I talk to anyone who wants to say Trump, Trump, Trump. I say, how do you not mention the 40 million people that voted for him? You have to look at, he didn't elect himself, and that some of the people you work with, you see every day, they may not say it, but they voted for him even after the Access Hollywood tape came out.
About grabbing women by their private parts.
And it is, when you even think about it
and those
now,
same people who voted for him when he talked about grabbing women by their private parts anytime he wanted to, they're the same people who impeached Clinton for
or a part of
having
the
an
Me
affair.
Too movement.
Right, that are part of the Me Too movement, which is so
they got rid
hypocritical.
of Charlie Rose, the
Weinstein. Yep.
And so the same voters and the same people, these 40 million people are some of the same people that are part of the Me Too movement.
Right.
But the blinders are on, and that's why I'm saying when you look at Trump, it's what he represents that we begin to resent in the government. It's politicians living in a world of the purse and the nepotism and the cronyism where they got all the security. They living like a royalty in what's supposed to be a democratic society. But over the years, nothing's really changing. Like some of the things, the pay for play, the lobbyists, it's a flawed system that they were hoping a person like Trump just blow it up out of resentment of how it was set up.
And all he's done is added more to the swamp. When you bring your own child, your daughter, you bring your son-in-law to do jobs that people have done who have been in government service for 20 and 30 years, and you give them those jobs who all they know how to do is do deals for hotels or deals for shoes, for shoe companies, then you're making a mockery of our democracy because they can't even pass a background check. Now, why do we have background checks and clearance in the federal government if now the king president can come in and say, no, not for my people? Because they can't pass. They've never passed. So I'm just saying, what type of government do we have? And then the people sit down and say nothing about that.
Chaos has a platform now.
Yeah.
Chaos has a platform.
And then once you lower the bar so low, then it's going to create even more chaos because we are supposed to be a country that is governed by the rule of law. And all of the rules of law are being broken in front of our faces with nobody saying anything. And that's what democracy is supposed to do. It's supposed to be a check and a balance. You're breaking the rules of law and somebody's going to check you. I mean, it was set up that way. And now you have a news station that supports someone that is a hypocrite. And that when Fox News went after Clinton, Now I mean, but it's just it's untrustworthy. I don't listen to Fox because I don't like to listen to lies, and I believe that when you listen to a show like MSNBC or CNN, they show you the other side because they show you what Trump said. They always play Trump. So you hear the lie. They might play what he said today, contrary to what he said last month. So you see that, and then it's commentated about it. So you get both sides, in my opinion, rather than getting this crazy, distorted side. I don't talk to crazy people. I'm just saying, in my personal life, if somebody says something,
opportunity.
I don't have those kind of crazy friends. Maybe I've never had time. That's not entertaining. It's not cute. I don't talk to people. I can talk to the lowest of low person in society with no education, as long as what they're saying is logical. You know what I'm saying? It might not be my logic, but as long as it's logical and I can follow it. But when someone says something like, if someone's called on a carpet that's supposed to be intelligent, and the first thing they say, like the lady that was representing Trump early on said, well, it's just fake news. Like, that's no big deal. Like, news is supposed to be fake. I mean, that's absurd to me. I don't want to talk to anybody who justifies lies. Basically, yes, I was lying because now it's fake news. That was Kellyanne Conway's response. I'm talking fake news.
Now she said, I'm reporting alternative facts.
Alternative facts.
So she created something that said it's not a lie.
No, it is a lie.
But
it's a lie that it's a lie, and I don't want to say it's a lie because everybody understands that. So I'm going to create a new term for the lie, and that is alternative facts. She's not saying it's not a lie. She's just saying it's alternative facts. So that, again, is what I'm saying. I don't talk to crazy people, and I don't listen to crazy people, because a lie is a lie, and an alternative fact is a lie, and I don't want my head to be filled with lies and alternative facts. I want facts that are, I'm a lawyer, and I like facts that are evidence-based. When I wasn't a lawyer, I was an accountant that liked evidence-based. When I wasn't that, I was a person that lived my life by example of evidence. I've always liked to have evidence of of facts. And I mean, facts can change, and so opinions change. But facts can morph and continue. Life is a continuum, but I can't look at facts because I don't want to hear lies, and I don't want to hear things that I want to feel. Our history as Black Americans is not good. Our old history is not good. So I want to hear something that makes the best of a bad situation and doesn't remind me of a slave time or slave mentality, the things that I'm trying to overcome in society and being a part of the Black experience. I don't want to hear negative things about Black people. I don't want to see that, even though we're 13% of the total United States population, highlighting negative facts on Black people on Fox, when there's going to be 10 times as many white people doing the same negative thing, and they're not being highlighted. I cannot support that, and I don't want to see it.
So when I talk about the premise of this book, Why Great Men Fall, I watched Bill O'Reilly set himself up for
a fall he never takes.
Beware, at least you take heed, at least you fall. And I truly believe, not that I wish the hope would happen to him, but you could almost see it happening. If you hate and you push out all this negative karma out into the world and project it on people, sooner or later, I believe the universe is going to respond back with that same, what you put out, the universe is going to respond. And all the things he criticized people for, about their moral standards, he took the moral high ground on everything. He ended up, not only him, but the person that was over Fox News, I can't think of his name.
But do you know that Bill O'Reilly's salary was published in 2015 at $29 million? And I've heard Hannity's, some of those, they make between $20 and $40 million a year, feeding us negative information, making the poorest of the poor hate the poorest of the poor with different color skins. But these people are making $30 million a year. So even if they get busted or fired, over 10 years, they have made a fortune. In 10 years, they've made $300 million.
O'Reilly had to pay a lot of his wealth to women.
And that's their perception, because they want you to feel sorry for them, but they all have big insurance policies that cover everything they say, okay?
And Sean Hannity currently right now, we can see why he's such a champion for Donald Trump, is because they always say follow the money.
Of course, you got to follow.
So now he when they were in court, they had the feds ran that on Donald Trump, a lawyer, like they did Paul Manafort, his former campaign manager. Man, they came in like the Gestapo. When they came and they opened the door and they knocked on the door. The first thing they do is snatch his cell phone out of his hand. They took his safe. They took all his records. They did Paul Manafort the same way. When they got him in the room, interrogating, they asked him, how many clients do you have? He had listed 3 clients. One was
crazy.
Donald Trump.
That's crazy.
One, I can't remember his name, but guess who the second one was?
Sean Hannity, who makes, I'm looking here, he makes, he makes $36 million. In 2017, Sean Hannity was the world's highest paid radio host in 2017 on Forbes' list. He made $36 million from talking on the radio for a few hours a day, filling the world with hate.
So let me tell you what he's done.
So hate has a profit.
Let me show you how smart these people are. And when this is what I like. This is why I watch and I listen and I learn. And it's still, I don't take the side of villainizing and demonizing them. I try to learn from exactly what they're doing. Sean Hannity bought a lot of HUD property. He used his wealth, made a deal with the government to buy low-income housing and make a profit off of it. And when he bought all these properties, he didn't even use his own money. He borrowed the money. So some of these issues are coming up to where that's how it all links together.
I hear you.
So if we get someone in office that controls how taxes, who pays taxes, who doesn't pay taxes.
Of course.
There was no outrage when they lowered the taxes and put in place a permanent lower tax rate for rich people and a temporary tax cut for the middle class. And people was okay with a temporary uptick in their finances, even at the expense of saying the rich can live out the rest of their lives with something in place that makes sure that they don't have to pay into the taxes. Now, the Republicans make a point of saying that the reason they don't have a lot of empathy for poor people is because the great majority of them don't pay taxes. I said that's a valid point. So when they're saying they're helping people with their taxes, the reason poor people don't have a voice is many of them don't have to pay taxes.
But let me give you a counter argument to that. When someone says that poor people don't pay taxes, but poor people live in the housing establishments, and so if you live in a building that has an apartment complex that has 800 units, and it's Section 8, the building owner is paying taxes off of the property that those people are living in, and they're paying big taxes. And the property owner is usually a person on the Republican side, on the right-wing side, that has a housing contract. And so don't let it get twisted sometimes in thinking like Hannity buying all these HUD properties, that's so he can get government income, just like everybody else. So what's the difference? And he's paying taxes on that property. If that property, he might be paying $500,000 a year on that property tax, unless there's some type of tax break for it. But I'm just saying, even if you're poor, you do things to generate a tax base. Poor people might not have any money. Even if you have a welfare card, you still go buy food. Food is taxed. So that tax is going to the state. They're still getting that 8.25.
The point they were making is they don't get
it doesn't matter, because if you're lower middle class anyway, a middle class, you pay taxes and you get most of it back in a check. So that's not paying taxes if you get it back. You might get it taken out of your check, but as long as you're getting a refund, you're not paying.
You're making my point.
So I'm just saying, it's not like, but we still make the economy go around. If we did not spend the money to create the taxes for governments to run, Texas, the state of Texas, every program they have, good or bad, is run by our sales tax. So, taxes are important, and every consumer is buying. I see homeless people in the store buying stuff, and without them buying it, and me buying it, and you buying groceries, everybody's paying taxes. Everybody is buying shoes. Everybody is doing something that is generating taxes for their state. even if they're poor. So we can't say that they don't contribute, because that still contributes to the world economy. Because even if you're just if you're working at Fiesta and half your people are poor, if you're on that Fiesta over there on Wheeler, where we know there's half poor people over there as the consumers, we're still employing all those people in there who are, do you understand what I'm saying? So everybody contributes to a healthy economy, whether they are poor. Even the homeless man that's begging on the corner, when he gets some money, the little piece he don't spend on crack, he gonna go across the store and buy a soda, some cigarettes, or whatever. That's all has sales tax on it. That is all a part of making Texas's money flow and making the city ordinances. I mean, that's how the city gets their money, from taxes. So everybody's paying taxes. So even if you're poor and you're not paying it directly because you don't own a home, if you're renting one, no matter how you're renting it, the tax base is the same that keeps our economies going.
So we're almost at the end. Let me offer this thought to the current administration. And I heard someone else had the same opinion. It would be better that they don't try to remove Donald Trump while he's in office, but to allow the American people to go back to the polls and let them decide what kind of leadership they want in the country. You know, his base, it has a spokesperson. When I felt like when President Obama was in office, I had representation. Mm-hmm. So I try to weigh it both ways. If I thought and grew up in the type of environment that Trump supporters were in, I will be just as excited for my person in office,
sure,
representing how I think at the highest level. But I think American people in the middle always desired elections. The independents decided.
Let me interrupt you for a second. I respect your opinion, but I respectfully disagree. I think that we've espoused as a country to think like our leaders. So when President Kennedy said, "It's not what you can do for what your country can do for you, it's what you can do for your country." Nobody was thinking that way because everybody's thinking selfishly. But the leader has to inspire us all to unify in some thought processes. I mean, that is why we need leadership. Otherwise, we don't need them. I mean, we need representation like Congress, like the Senate, so they can all go fight for each state's interests. But the president should be above that fray because the president doesn't make the final decisions. The president is the leader of our thought processes. And so I don't agree. I mean, even though you liked having a president that looks like you, he was still doing what was best for the country, whether he liked them or not, whether they voted for him or not. I mean, he even put Republicans in office, in cabinets. He suggested, I mean, he was trying to do what was unifying. I mean, I don't agree with everything Obama did because it might have gone against my self-interest. But I saw that he was trying to do what was good for the country. When the former administration, Bush administration, ran in, let the prime mortgage rates go crazy, we're about to go under. The GMC, the cars go under. He came in,
prices were
everything.
Out of control.
Obama came in to save all of that. That wasn't for our self-interest. We ain't in Detroit. We don't care if the car, I mean, what difference? I mean, half the cars we buy are not even made in Detroit. So, but I'm just saying he did what was good for everybody. And we got to have leadership that does what's good for all of us, even if we can identify with the person that's there. I mean, I think we've always still identified. If the president's white, they've always been white. For black people, we still identify with them.
He should be removed?
People love Kennedy. I mean, I loved Kennedy. I mean, I was a little girl. My mother loved Kennedy. I mean, and he didn't look like us. He didn't know us. He didn't have our experience. But we believed in his ideals. And I guess what I'm saying is that we want our president to set good ideals, things for us. No matter if I'm selfish over here, I can see what he's saying is good for everybody.
Would it be good for the country if he was removed from office before he completes his term?
No, absolutely not.
So again, that's what my point is. No matter where he's at now.
I mean, I think we need to learn from this experience and not repeat it.
Right.
By voting him out.
And vote.
That's a waste of time. I think we learned it was a waste of time under Clinton, and I thought it was a waste of time then. I mean, I don't think we should spend up our time doing that. I think they should spend their time doing something. Well, I guess the Republicans have done what they wanted to do. They got the tax increase, the tax cut for the rich. So, but I'm just saying our time should be spent on something that's beneficial to everybody and not just a few.
So what is the Democrats' strategy that you've seen for.
Since we only have 3 minutes, I can't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
But we could talk about that in another hot topic discussion.
Okay.
So what else is on your mind that you can close off with? Because we have 3 minutes.
Well, I just want to encourage people to get involved. Not don't speak on subject matters on national level on your feelings. When you having a discussion with someone about politics, you win an argument with facts, not with opinions or what you think. Know the facts, read, listen, educate yourself on the facts. So when you talking with someone, you can maybe convince them that the person that you are against, you can win them over with facts. And not that, I don't like him.
Right.
Speak from factual things he's done and said, and then you can win the argument and not digress.
No, that's good. My closing remarks have to do with local politics. Again, I'm a big proponent of local politics. Know where your tax dollars are going. We talked about property taxes on commercial property. If you live in an apartment, your landlord is paying taxes. If you're a homeowner, residential homeowner, you're paying taxes. And our county commissioners, our county fathers, they're the ones who dole out our tax dollars for county buildings, for county security, for the sheriff's department, for the judicial courthouses, and think about where your money is going. Don't just follow the status quo. You can always Google now. Commissioner's Court is on TV, on one of the closed circuit channels locally. Think about local politics and what could make us better. Because we do need to be better. We need to work together to be better locally. And because some things are out of our control, and certainly national politics is out of our control. I'd also like to say I would like for us to increase democracy and not experience a loss in democracy. We've lost a little over the last few years, but I'd ask that we can have spirited conversations with differences of opinions and still care about each other and respect each other when it's over. And let's not let foreign countries beat us in all the ways that we had beat them 50 years ago, because our divisiveness is hurting us economically. And so I hope that we can gain our democracy again. I hope we can be fair to returning citizens. And I think that we should put people in jail. Let's talk about jail, since I know about that, who hurt us, who we're afraid of, and be more sensible about, the people that we jail. So, but local politics is my issue. So we have 30 seconds. And if you need to come to a program, and you have substance abuse problems, you need to find your way. Danny, where can our viewers go?
I'm located at St. John's downtown. It's 2019 Crawford Street, under the leadership of Pastor Rudy and Juanita Ramos. We have a reentry ministry called Path of Freedom. We meet every Wednesday, 5:30 to 7 p.m. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Thank you.
Good night, and thanks for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King, and I'll see you again next week. Good night.